Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest joins me from Providence, Rhode Island. He's an incredibly talented indie pop singer-songwriter and producer with a new song out right now called Sleep. Before we get the episode started, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to follow me at Parker Whirling and at @onthatnote_podcast on Instagram. And on that note, please welcome the China Blue. I'm sitting here with the China Blue, an indie pop singer-songwriter and producer based out of Providence, Rhode Island. His newest single, Sleep, is out right now. It came out September 15th, so it's hot off the press. And it's featuring Mir Raj. It's probably one of my favorite songs you've dropped. I love this one in silence the most, no doubt, but this is it's creeping its way up to the top for me. I'd love to ask about the writing and recording process behind this song, and if there was any new approach or the way you handled this song compared to your previous releases.
Well, first off, thank you. I appreciate that. I wouldn't say it was anything entirely different, but I did feel like it was very quick and natural. I've been finding myself writing songs a lot quicker, but this one in particular was like, I had it fleshed out basically in a day. I started it just on my laptop in my living room, honestly, and I was just fooling around with samples. And then I came up with the beat, started adding like the piano and stuff, and then I sent it to Mirage, and we did a few Zoom sessions back and forth and just figured out like some of the arrangement. He actually did a little bit of production. He specifically added the bass, the sub bass track that you hear under. So we just went back and forth for a few sessions, and then he sent me his verse, and then I kind of finished it up, sent it to my engineer. It was a pretty quick, like easy process. I don't know. It was super fun to write because I didn't feel like I was overthinking it, which is always good.
Yeah, I noticed that Mir Raj is the first featured artist on any of your songs. Is that the first time you've ever worked with or collaborated with someone?
That is officially out, yeah.
Yeah, it's officially out, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to knock on anybody else, I write a bunch of stuff and I try stuff all the time, but I'm super selective and picky. Like for this upcoming EP, I've probably gone through like 50 songs, and I'll be narrowing it down to 7. So
right.
Out of everything I've written, including collabs, like I knew I really wanted this one, so I'm really happy with it.
I just realized, is Mir Raj supposed to be like Mirage when you say it quick?
I believe so.
I was like, once you said it, I was like, wait, oh my God. That's funny.
You're going to have to ask him. I don't want to make any assumptions.
Yeah, there you go. I'll have him on the show next, just to ask him, if anything. But what felt different about this collaboration that made it really stand out for you?
I think musically it's just super cool. I'm in kind of like an alternative R&B spot right now that I'm trying to like really develop. So kind of being able to nail that, and his voice is super good, and I wanted to work with him so bad. And I don't know. I just think our voices work really well together. The beat's very bouncy. It also still sounds like me in the sense where I like to put a lot of layers and atmospheric sounds and weird things in there. And I don't know. It just felt very natural, and I never really overthought this one. So I knew I wanted it to be out because I never had any of those like negative associations I sometimes put on myself. Like sometimes I'll be working on something for so long and I'm just like, oh, I hate this song. But then I'll keep working on it and it'll come out the other end and like I'm actually happy with it. This song, it was kind of just smooth sailing, which I don't know. It's fun when it works out like that. It doesn't always, yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people now about that exact feeling. The last one being a guy named Fulton Lee, just about how you can, like, good things can come easy. A song can sometimes just like appear out of thin air, and you don't have to be constantly banging your head against a wall to make something work. And it almost like when that happens, you just got to be grateful for it. And like, it just makes those songs that you do struggle on, like, it makes you, I don't know, for me, it like pisses me off. I'm like, damn, why is this taking like 3 years to find the right bridge or the right whatever? And
Yeah.
this song I wrote in like less than 2 hours.
I think it's a mix of like the more I'm doing, like the longer I'm doing it, it's getting easier, and that's not for like a lack of quality or sacrificing anything, which is like, I guess that's just how you develop in general, like whatever you're doing. But uh, I don't know. I think it can happen both ways. It's just like whatever your end product ends up being, just be happy with that. Like, does it sound rushed? Does it sound uh, like it's sacrificing anything? And if it is or isn't, then you address it then. I don't know. I'm just super grateful that like it worked out this way, because a lot of my other songs it doesn't. And there's obviously still work because I do the majority of the production. I have an engineer to help clean up everything after, but I was still going in there tweaking sounds for a while and trying to get I comp all my vocals. I arrange all my vocals. I got to think of harmonies, all that fun stuff, like every song. So it's never like it's never simple, but this one was like a lot easier than usual.
Yeah, and I think that comes with just doing this for a good amount of time. I mean, you'll never get to the point where everything you touch is just like easy and it's no problem, but it does get easier as you get to know yourself and you know what you like and you know how you sing best or the kind of production style you enjoy. And it's interesting that we're talking about that because I feel like when you're just getting started, there's a lot of things that can frustrate you because you don't know how to do it or you don't know what exactly to do. But really, like, I would say just doing it alone is a success because you're learning about yourself. You're learning about, the DAW that you're using or just how to play guitar, things like that. Do you have any advice for artists when it comes to starting out, like starting a new project or releasing their first song?
Um, yeah, this is kind of like I guess a tip I learned later on that like I really wish I knew earlier. It was, I don't know. I work personally a lot like in the program. Like I'll start a song in Logic and then flesh it out there. But this kind of applies regardless. If you're working on an instrumental, don't stack everything. Don't like get 20 seconds into it and just stack a bunch of sounds there. Like start off by laying out your song first, because it'll get done so much quicker and you won't be overdoing anything. You'll be able to learn where you want to put vocals and what's too much and what's too little if you have like 3 minutes laid out. As opposed to, I used to like start a song and then I just keep looping like a 10-second section and then add like 25 sounds and it starts to sound like, I don't know, like noise. Where, I don't know, maybe it'll just be like a drums and bass and a synth and I'll just lay that out over 3 minutes. That way I'm like, if I can just come up with all this stuff like as I'm doing it, as opposed to assuming I'll figure out the arrangement later, I'm able to finish songs a lot quicker. And I've been more recently leaving a lot more space in my vocals because I used to be kind of insecure about them and I still am. But I am a lot more like, okay, I need to make space for these so people hear what I'm saying, and it's more digestible when there's not like 30 million sounds going on. So I don't know. In that aspect, I feel like it helps too because I can come up with like a good structure, and if I want to add stuff after I have my vocals in there, then good. But I guess don't like, in short, like don't like jam so much. Don't jam all your ideas into like a small section and then try to figure it out later, and get your vocals down quicker than at least I used to, because I used to wait until the very end and then I'd have like so many sounds, it would be sounding like an orchestra, but then I want to have like a pop-ish vocal and it doesn't exactly work over like so much going on. I don't know. I guess less is more, and figure that out. Arrange your song sooner and try to like figure out what it's gonna be before you add a million things. I don't know.
That's very practical advice. I like that. You know, a lot of people will give more like general, you know, just be you kind of stuff, which is true. I'm not going to knock any of that, but I do like the occasional just practical advice because I've fallen down that exact same rabbit hole where you have a loop of like 8 bars and then you got the drums and you're like, okay, well, let's do some synths. And then you're like, well, this kind of sounds cool. And then by the end of it, you've got like, you know, 20 tracks and you haven't really done any arranging. And then you start the arranging and you're like, where do I even go from here? Because I'm so used to hearing it this crazy amount of noise at the same time. And now it's like, I like what you said, you know, make it 3 minutes, like loop out the drums or, you know, something like that. Nowadays, I've been writing all my songs on guitar before I start anything, which has been really helpful for me because I used to do exactly what you were just talking about. But now it's like I have the song already written and arranged before I go into the recording. So it basically blocks out that from happening at all.
Yeah. No, exactly. I didn't really like think about it, but I would just be like looping it like an 8 bar section, and then I'd have a million sounds, and then every time I would try to like arrange the song, it would sound like something was missing or something wasn't right, and I would never be able to get the dynamics right. But once I like did all that kind of dirty work first, then you're able to have a lot more fun and freedom, and then you find what's actually like necessary. And I guess that's just like an earlier mistake I would make. I would just like try to jam as many sounds in there as possible, but the ear can only take so much. Like, and I'm learning that more and more. Like, simple is just the way to go.
Yeah, that's a big lesson for me recently. It's easier to start being pretty critical with what you want instead of trying to cut all the fat later.
Yes, yeah.
So we were kind of talking about space earlier. Like you mentioned space, and what some things I really like about your songs, or like the main thing I really love is your use of space. It's just like everything feels like it's got a nice place to it. Sometimes, like especially in sleep. I mean, maybe this is just something I would notice, but in like the first 30 seconds, there's like a point where I feel like the kick should come in and it doesn't, and it just like hits different so that when it comes back in later it like I don't know, it hits a little harder, which I love. And I feel like you have moments of that in a lot of your songs. So do you have any artists that you are inspired by or look up to when it comes to the way that they like produce their songs, or they arrange the production, or just in general the way they treat spacing?
Um, it's tough because I can't really narrow down. I do take like from a lot of stuff. Like when it comes to arrangements and space wise lately, like Kenny Beats. I listen to like I don't know. I listen to all sorts of like hip hop producers because I feel like nowadays that's like some of the best example of like spatial use. I don't know if that makes sense, where it can be like just a beat, 808s, and then vocals, but it sounds full. And I'm like super inspired by that recently, especially with like Silence and Sleep, where I'm letting like a lot of the like my vocals and then just like a good beat and then like 808s and like a sub bass to carry like a lot of it, and then I'll sprinkle in some more sounds from there. But I also love like a lot of British bands like Coldplay, the 1975. Super influenced by like the Dirty Hit label. Like I love all those artists so much. I just think they have like, I love the way they produce vocals. I love the way they I love like atmospheric and weird sounds. I'm like super inspired by that. So I really do take from all sorts of places. For Silence, I was listening to like a lot of like older emo music and just like getting stuff lyrically from that and then trying to put it against like some jazz elements. Like I don't know, I really do take from all sorts of spots and try to make it my own. But yeah. And then like vocally I attempt to have like a higher voice, so I've definitely taken from like Michael Jackson and like some of his vibrato and putting that like over 808s. I always thought was like kind of cool. Like I don't know.
Yeah, your songs are kind of an amalgamation of a lot of things, and it took a few listens for me to really like take that in. Like the 808s and the beats go so hard, but then you have very atmospheric sounds and like synths and things like that. And then on top of that, your vocals are like almost like borderline like pop punk vocals, like just the way you like deliver it with a lot of emotion. And I don't listen to a lot of pop punk, so I could be totally wrong, but that just gives me that like that very emotional feeling. Do you have a favorite part of the creation process, whether that's, you know, starting writing or the recording or maybe even like releasing the music and doing campaigns for things like that?
I'd say like I feel the most like energetic when I've gotten like like starting like that first night when I like start something and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be doing this the next 6 hours and try to like get it as far as I can. That night's always so fun, and once I put down like a first melody line and I'm like, okay, there's something there, I get really excited by that. But then, um, I feel like I don't know. I really love like the post production side. Like once I have everything kind of laid out and I'm like, okay, what kind of little Easter eggs can I put in the song and what little sounds like I've gotten like I don't know like somebody knocking on a door or like I'll download like Foley sounds and like think of any weird things I can like put in there to like not like throw people off but kind of add to the atmosphere in a way that a lot of people don't think of
Like giving it
I
texture.
yeah, like I have this song like uh it's a little bit older. It's called Human, and throughout the beat it's like somebody like dropping like coins and like filling up in somebody's hand, and that's like integrated and interwoven like in the rhythm. So stuff like that is like probably my favorite. Or like finding like a little vocal snippet, like a whole high pitched chipmunk voice, and then just like throwing it like way in the background. Like I don't know. I really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on both of those things. Although probably more so on the first thing where you said like that moment where all of a sudden you've started something and you can feel it coming along, and it's like you enter that flow state where you don't want to stop working on it because you're like in tune with, I don't know, the universe and like whatever this song is like coming at you. But I do also love the idea of throwing secret things that probably only you will know. But if somebody does catch it, you're like, it means like the world because it's such a tiny little detail that does make the song. But most people, it'll like kind of go over their heads.
Yeah, it adds like a certain level of like character than just like taking loops and doing what everybody else does. Like I don't know, I try to it like it could just be a random sound, but I just never want something to sound even if it is like I want it to sound like there's some sort of like character every time you listen or you find like new things every time you listen. Like I feel like that adds to like replayability and it I don't know, it just adds like a lot to me rather than just a regular laid out song. Like I want to every like 20 seconds think of some weird sound I can put in even if you don't even notice it. But you might notice like 10 times in and it just I don't know, it adds like a lot.
Right. That reminds me of a conversation I had with Fulton Lee, my last guest, and he was telling me that he what like really inspires him more than like just a vocal delivery or, you know, drums or one specific thing is more of the world building aspect of a song. Like when you start it, does it feel like you've entered this fully crafted world? And I think doing what you're doing by adding tiny little details that are, you know, little secrets, Easter eggs, things that mean something to you are like key components of world building in a song.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I kind of like what you were saying before, like being in tune with the universe. I truly feel like there's some songs that I don't write. Like I kind of just like black out for like 6 hours, and I'm like, it's there in front of me, and I almost don't feel responsible for it. It's kind of crazy. Those feelings, I don't know. I love that when you're just like completely zoned in, no distractions. I'm not worried about anything else, and it all I'm focused on doing is digging up this song and like getting as close to it as I can. And when you finally like get on track to doing that, and you start sensing like, okay, there's a song there, and you're not overthinking it, because I just think when I think technically, I do horrible. When I like allow myself to just be open to anything, then I get some of my best things.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It feels like you're stealing something, like stealing
Yeah,
from the universe, and then it's there, and you're like, "There's no way I wrote this. This is like a joke, right?"
I know, right? It's
It's
like the craziest experience. I don't know. That's why never I don't try to jinx it sometimes. I don't want to take all the credit, because I do feel like, I don't know, somebody else writes the songs sometimes, and I'm the mailman.
the mailman. That's funny. I like that. So I watched your performance of your song "Silence" live at Friendly Fest, which was awesome. I really enjoyed not only the song and the performance, but the atmosphere that you did it in. It seemed very fitting for the song, like the strobe lights, and is it a living room or like a basement bedroom or something?
Yeah, it was like a basement setup that we were able to find of our friends, and yeah, we just took advantage of that, and we got like a little LED strobe light. I'm surprised you like it. Not that I don't like it, but it was very like something. It was quarantine level of like what I guess we can make happen. So I'm glad you thought it was cool.
Yeah, well, I felt like it fit the vibe of the song. I can't really explain why, but it did for me. Um, how was your experience doing that? Had you ever done an online festival or performance before? And how does it feel, compared to doing it live in person?
Um, it's it's similar to an extent. I guess I'm always gonna feel more comfortable being able to control the footage, and if like I don't know, like you can't, when it's live, like you can't edit out a weird look, or like a weird, like if I have like a vocal tick or something, like I don't know, I honestly, they're both equally fun, but you get some sort of like security in being able to like present to the company, which that time was a Friendly Festival or Friendly Media, being able to like give it to them and being able to like edit it and tweak it. Like I did have some fun. Like I did the color correcting, which like I don't know, I'm not a big video guy, but being able to like do little things like that and make a cool experience out of it is always fun.
Yeah, it's funny that you can add some control and like it makes you feel better, but also, there's something to be said for, the lack of control when you are performing live in front of people, and it's like that shoots up your energy like way higher, and you're like way more stressed, but in a good way.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm always gonna have stage fright. That's just the way I am. But when you're on stage and you're just, I don't know, in the middle of the set, and you start feeling like really comfortable, and your nerves are up, but it's like good nerves. Like that's like super fun. I don't know. I guess you don't really get that in the live or in that like session setting as much, because we filmed it and we produced it, and then we just gave it to the company. So
Right. So do you have any advice for artists when it comes to doing an online performance like this?
um I guess without like without taking away, I would say like retain the live element, but don't be afraid to touch something up, because like nothing is live anymore inherently. That's all I'm
Hmm.
gonna say.
Interesting. What do
Like
you
you
what do
can
you
touch.
mean?
I would say like I don't know. Everybody does like post work, even like regardless of whether like whatever your technical recording situation is, like if you have the opportunity to clean something up, whether that's like a mixing thing or like your voice or like an instrumental part, I would say just do it, because like I don't know, I'm not of the opinion that everything needs to have like I don't think things aren't authentic if you work on them and make them better, even in a live sense, you know what I mean? Like I think like if you have the opportunity to clean something up, why not use that? Because when you're playing a show, you're not going to be able to have that opportunity, so maybe take advantage of it if you can. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of touches on like the idea of people being self-conscious one way or another, self-conscious that it's not purely authentic, or self-conscious that you're doing too much to fix it. And really, it's like there's such a, there's a balance. It's a spectrum. You don't need to go one way or the other, because
Yeah, for sure.
what is pure authenticity anymore in a world where everything can be edited on your phone. And then
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like even autotune, like I always use autotune. It's part of my sound. Like I have nothing bad to say about it. I'm going to sound better with autotune than without it. So I'm not embarrassed by it. I don't think anybody should be. Like it's a wonderful tool, and you can use it stylistically and make it your own. If you like, I guess I would put it like I don't think I just don't think we're in an era of like computers and stuff, like, so why negate the technology that we have? Like we're not, not everything needs to be. I just don't think like, I don't know, I'm going on a tangent, but like
it's
like
okay.
just because we're like editing things and like making something better and making the most of what we have, I don't think that loses like authenticity. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to what you said about auto tune, or really you could say that about any sort of production choice. If it feels right now, then that's what you should do. That's what works. If in the future you change your mind and you're like, oh, I don't know if I really like auto tune anymore, but I've been doing it for so long, it feels like my sound, so I should keep doing it. That's when it starts to get into rocky territory, because now you're like disregarding your own personal thoughts and like desires, instead of and replacing that with what you think other people would think about it. Like for me, I used autotune all the time when I had no idea what I was doing, because I like just hated the way I sounded, and I felt like it sounded better with it. And now I go back and listen to that stuff, and I'm like, I wish I didn't go so crazy. But it took a while, and like you have to evolve with that and accept that maybe at one time you were in one place and it made sense, but now it's okay to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like as you mature too, you just get like, whether it's like less or more, maybe you need more of something, maybe you need less of it. I always find it's usually less. It's like you kind of shave off those extremes as you get older and better. But I don't know. I just think like I don't want. I just hate the conversation around autotune, because it sounds stupid to me. Like even your favorite artists who don't sound like they have autotune, they have it on, and it's just a well balanced version of it, which is, I think, like a more ideal situation, unless you want to go for the T-Pain heavy autotune thing. But I don't know. I just think like transparency in that sense is good, where maybe if you don't like it, then so be it, and that's like amazing. And there's something to say about like raw pure talent and like being able to like be on pitch 100% of the time or whatever that is. But I think like being okay to like admit that like, yeah, like my live set, I did some editing to it to make it like sound as good as it can for you guys, because it's forever and that's like recorded and done. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And like when I sing live, like I'll use a little bit of autotune, and I think that's like fun, and it makes it where I don't need to be 100% focused on my pitch, and I can have a little bit more fun and dance around, whereas I would sacrifice that if I wanted to be like an energetic performer.
Absolutely. And it is subjective. It's like that's what, that's what you like, and if that's what you like, that's what you do. And going back to like not having any auto tune on at all, is and having it really raw. You don't even have to be like pitch perfect great singer. Like you look at people like Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen, it's like, is their voice really perfect? No, it's not. And there's so many artists that are able to convey a feeling, and that's really what matters. And if you want to use auto tune to convey a feeling, then there's nothing wrong with that. But also on the other end, if you want to convey a feeling but you feel like your vocals aren't perfect, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. Maybe it's actually perfect for the song that you're writing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think I don't know, all my favorites, like favorite artists, I feel like are in the producer mindset. I very much like align with that, where like a lot of my artists don't have like the most insane voice, or they're not like inherently like musicians, but they're songwriters at heart, and they're doing what they have to help like get across something or say a message. So like Kanye, for example, he's obviously not like the craziest singer in the world, but I think what he's able to get across with the tools he has, and I don't know, I think that's sometimes more interesting to me, at least personally, than like somebody who can do a million runs and like can outsing everybody else, because I think it's more about like honesty in songwriting, at least to me. I don't know, everybody's different. Like some people really get off on like amazing performers and like pitch perfect, and I don't know, like musicianship is like not inherently my thing. I just really love like great songwriting and production. So I feel like you do what you can. Like I feel like I don't have the best voice in the world, but I develop it enough where I'm now able to like sing the songs that I write, because I taught myself when I was 17 to start singing. Like I never used to do it before, but I knew I wanted to release music. So like it would be a shame if like nobody took me serious because my voice is not like perfect. You know what I mean? I don't know.
No, that's so true. I totally agree, because it is more about, for me personally, like it's more about the I guess the feeling, the overall world that you've built, like the essence of a song or an album, than it is about technically is it fantastic. Because like what's great about something being totally perfect? Like that's not like what's interesting about that. We want to see some mistakes, some flaws that aren't even flaws. They're just like little nuances, really.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I just think like the human aspect is, I don't know, that's what makes things interesting. Like, I don't know, I'm just not like I still like love pop music and really resonate with elements of it, but I love the people, like I love like alternative artists who try to take elements of that where they, I don't know, I like embracing flaws sometimes. I don't like using it as like an excuse to not get better, but I think there's something about like that balance, like you said.
100%. Embrace your flaws. That's a great note to end on, to go into the last five here.
Yeah.
So question number 1 is, in the studio or playing live?
Studio for sure.
Yeah, I would have guessed. You seem like you like really zone out or zone in, whatever you want to, however you want to put it, in the studio.
Yeah, it's like that's where I feel the most comfortable. Like songwriting is very much my thing versus the live thing, but the live thing's still fun.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Question number 2 is, what do you think is a perfect album front to back?
Michael Jackson's Thriller.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that answer.
Yeah, right?
Who's gonna debate you on that?
Exactly, that's why I said it.
That's I'll be honest, I've only listened to the whole thing front to back maybe once. I mean, and I didn't realize, like obviously I know Thriller and I know a bunch of Michael Jackson's songs, but I didn't know which ones were on there and which ones weren't. And the first like 5 or 6 songs I didn't even know I'd never heard, which made me feel like a terrible musician for not having listened to it. But of course, it slaps. Like everything is so perfectly produced, and his performance is unbelievable.
Yeah, he was just at his he was on his game, and I don't know, some of the best songwriting ever, and like the fact that you'd get goes from like Billie Jean to Beat It, Human Nature, like so many hits like after another. I don't know, it's a great album.
Question number 3 is, who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
Right now I have two. I would say like, for whatever reason, if I could somehow work with Kanye, like that would be amazing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like the same type of music, I just love what he does, and I think it's like beautiful. So being able to work with him would be amazing. And then like I was saying before, there's the British label Dirty Hit. A lot of the artists are over there, but they have like the 1975, the Japanese House, who I'm also very inspired by. She's great, but they are also like, they have a kind of central, they work with the drummer of the 1975, George Daniel, and I just think his production is like some of the best today, and I'd love for him to produce one of my tracks. That'd be amazing.
That's funny, because the first person I wrote down, I try to, have some ideas of who would be cool for them to work with, my guests, and Matty Healy from the 1975 was the first one I wrote down, because I feel like that would just be so fucking sick.
Yeah, I don't know. They're awesome. I think they're so great. And I feel like, I don't know, especially their production is like something that still to this day like sticks with me and is like definitely influenced me. Like, he's one where he really just has so much character like in every song, and does like the whole weird sounds thing, and like, I don't know, every time you listen there's like something new to get out of it, which I just adore. There's not many people like that.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, how much they switch up their sound stylistically even between songs.
Yeah. No, I think I like how they don't play the genres. They're not like easily describable because they just write whatever they want. Like, I respect them so much.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they put out People. Like, when I heard
Yeah,
that
I know.
song, like, this is what they put out after like 3 or 4 albums. Like, that's a bold move.
For sure. I mean, I don't know, whatever they do, I feel like it's always like just an honest expression of what they want to do. It never feels like forced. Like, it could have been like, in a sense, career suicide to release that song, but I feel like they just don't care, because they know that if they do what they want, it'll always be better than what like everybody else wants, I guess.
Yeah, and to put that on the same album as Me and You Together song is like, what? Like,
Yeah,
this is crazy.
that album was definitely like so stylistically vast, but I thought it was cool. Like, they have like almost like a house EDM, not EDM, but like very like house song that's like completely instrumental with like a spoken word sample cut up in the beat. Like, I don't know. I think the fact that they're willing to do that on like a song, well, they have like People on that album, but they have like a house song on it. I don't know. I respect that like so much, that they're willing to do whatever they find interesting. I don't know. That's the way music should be.
Yeah, to take risks like that at such a high level is very respectable, even if, you don't think it pays off. I would rather a band or artist I really like decide to take a risk and do something crazy with their new release and me not like it than them just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. I've never, I don't know, I've never been of the opinion that like you need to stick to one genre or anything. Like, I feel like as long as you kind of have your own, like, I find this with me, like, I have like a vocal chain, and I have like very certain techniques that I do for every song, and that's kind of my fingerprint that you might not even notice, but I feel like I'm able to write kind of whatever genre I want as long as I have my identity in it, and you kind of inherently will if I produce my own songs, like that helps because I always have like some sort of nuances that are gonna be of the China Blue song. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, the other three, actually, before I even say this, I always have to tell this story when I'm talking with somebody who likes the 1975 because it's like a little flex. I discovered them because I saw them like maybe 8 years ago opening for The Neighborhood.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, like the only song they maybe had out there was Chocolate, and or I mean they had Chocolate and Sex in that EP out. But like it was so funny because I mean they, not that The Neighborhood isn't big, but like they fucking are so much bigger now, and it only took like a year after that for that to happen. And when they came on stage, like nobody knew who they were. I mean, some people were vibing to it, but it was not like even close to like, now they're playing like Brixton O2 Arena and shit. So they're
That's
they're like
crazy.
my official hipster band.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. But the other three artists I wrote down that I thought would be really sick for you to work with. One of them might be a little out there, but I don't know why I was feeling it. But there's Charlie XCX, and then I wrote down Porter Robinson. And just to finish it off with something kind of out there, I put JPEG Mafia.
Okay, so this is gonna sound like a sin. I have not listened to much of JPEG Mafia.
That's better
But
than you saying you don't like it.
oh, no, absolutely not. I think I know one song by them, and I remember liking it. I think I might have something in my playlist of them, and I like them. I just can't like really nail down what the music is.
No, I mean, well, I've been listening to him for a while, and you still can't nail down exactly what it is. But let me say, like, listen to All My Heroes Are Cornballs. That album, like, when you talk about production and space and things like that, I think he's probably one of the best producers out there right now, especially in hip hop, because he just takes so many risks with the samples he uses, the way he like produces his vocals. There's moments in the songs where like he'll just turn down the volume of everything except his vocals, and not in like a smooth way. It's like so jarring, but it works. And yeah, that whole album is sick. If you at least like the song Jesus Forgive Me for I Am a Thought, then you should at least listen to that a few times, and then you will get into the rest of it. But it's pretty out there.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out. All My Heroes Are Cornballs.
Yeah, and people really like his other album, and it is great. It's called Veteran. But I love All My Heroes Are Cornballs more. But he's got so much out there, so if you're not into that one, like he really has a lot of good stuff.
No, I'll definitely check it out. And I agree about Charlie XCX.
Yeah.
She's so far.
Yeah, she's the queen.
Been super inspired by her lately. That album, How I'm Feeling Now.
Yeah.
I still listen to it like all the time, and trying to find ways to put some of that in what I'm doing, because I just think that's such a cool sound.
7 Years was always my favorite on that one.
Mine was I Finally Understand, and then C20.
Okay, I'll have to go listen to it again because I've listened to the whole album a few times, but I don't really know most of the songs other than that one and like Pink Diamond and maybe one other. But yeah, Charlie, yeah, she's incredible. But question number 4 is what's on your musical rotation right now?
Let me look.
You pull
Let's
up the old
see what we
Spotify.
got. I use Apple Music. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I did it for a moment, and I
love Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify is great. I just the audio quality is slightly better.
Dude, that's what I thought, and then I was like, I took this test, this like audio quality test. Can you tell the difference between lossless audio? And I was like, yeah, I totally can. And then it said I only got it like 50% right. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I really can hear a difference. So it kind of like dented my ego. So I went back to Spotify.
Yeah, I have both. I just like, I don't know, for whatever reason. Maybe it's not real and it's just a selling thing.
No,
But
I think you're onto something.
I like "Damn Right" by Audrey Nuna.
Don't know
I don't know
that.
if you know that song. Check it out. It's just I believe she's Korean. But she's a rapper. She's a really good song. And then I don't know if you know of Genevieve. She's like kind of like an R&B singer. She's really good. She just released an album. Her song Medallion is really good, and she's been super inspiring, especially with like the sound I'm starting to like delve into and embellish a bit. Like she's been a huge inspiration. Her and her producer, and then just listening to the new Kanye album.
Nice. Yeah. What are your
What do you think?
thoughts?
Do you like it?
I love it.
I love it
Honestly.
too.
Okay. That's like every time I say that, I like get a little nervous of what the other person's gonna say, because I think it's fantastic. I think there's a few songs that probably didn't need to be on there, but in general, I think it's like he just destroyed it. Like it is so I don't know. It's almost futuristic, but it's like it feels like a religious experience.
Yeah, I mean, not that you would catch me. I would never like talk shit about other artists, but like when I say like I really feel like this is like an insanely good album versus like what's come out recently. I mean it. Like I feel like nobody's like really like getting it. Like this is like a crazy album. Like we can't just like throw it out of the conversation now. Like some of the songs in there, like I was in tears. Like
Come to
and
life.
I don't. Yeah, I don't do that shit a lot where I'm like just crying, but it really got to me, and it's been super inspiring.
I agree. It is very inspiring, and it really like got me back onto a hip hop kick because I was out of it for a while. And then that came out. I'm like, wow, it just changed the game of what hip hop can be. I think like it can be like religious and still hit so hard, and like nothing feels. I don't know, like Jesus is King was like ridiculous to me. I didn't like it very much. But this is like what I feel like he wanted Jesus is King to be. But it's like a mix of everything. It's like Jesus is King, Jesus, some stuff from graduation. It's like kind of all over the place, but it still feels so cohesive. And yeah, what are your like top tracks, would you say?
Junior is my favorite,
Junior's
which is
fucking
like
awesome.
a weird opinion because I feel like nobody feels the same way.
I
But
love that one.
off that one, off the grid, believe what I say.
Yeah.
That one, that like kind of
Right.
like
That makes me
bouncy
think
song.
of graduation. That could have been on
Yeah.
graduation.
No, that's such a good song. But yeah, kind of like what you're saying. Like, I feel like there's such merit to the fact that he put out a song with no swears in a hip hop space, and people are like actually like debating it versus like some of the other albums that come out right now. Like I don't know. The fact that he was able to have limitations on himself like that, and it's not it doesn't take away anything. Like he's making it harder for himself essentially, but it's still in the conversation. It didn't affect him at all. I think there's like something crazy about that, and the fact that the subject matter is about kind of the complete like opposite of what's in pop culture. I don't know. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I mean, there's not a lot of pop artists or songs that really like go in depth with like Christianity and religion, at least in like a positive way. And like, you know, now we're getting into some like interesting territory with religion and beliefs and things like that. But it's like, you know, however you feel about it, I think most people, if they are religious, feel like they are because it makes them a better person and they want to be a better person. And even if you're not religious, that's totally fine. If you are, it's totally fine. But it is interesting that it's not really in the pop culture. And he took something that was like so powerful to him and it's not really, it's almost like it's not accessible anymore to really get into that stuff. And yet he did it and it still slaps.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I don't know. Like, it just doesn't seem like it's not inherent. It's not a subject that's inherently like cool for the average person to be thinking about, like in basic terms. But the fact that he's able to make people like sing lyrics about God, and like even if it's like not that deep, maybe it is. Maybe a lot of people really resonate with it, and it was like very spiritual, and like it took them somewhere. Or maybe it was just like a positive message that isn't like superficial things. And the fact that people are just singing that, I think that's like incredible. I don't know. He did something crazy.
Yeah, I think in like 5 or 10 years, when all the drama behind everything that surrounded it is kind of forgotten, the music will remain, and people will remember. Like, people will be like, "Whoa, like, yeah, this album is great," and it inspired so much. Like, I got so like mad unreasonably when Pitchfork gave it a 6. I'm like, why? Like, are you for real? And then one of the first reasons, and it actually wasn't even in the review, it was like a preview before the review of what they thought. And it was like, the first thing was like, where are the drums? And it's like, how about you have some taste and like think about the fact that maybe not all these songs need drums just because he's a hip hop artist. I got so pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck him.
No,
except I mean Pitchfork.
If you got nothing good to say, don't say it, you know?
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I've talked about Kanye so much the last few episodes. We probably need to wrap that one up. But yeah, last question here is, what's your favorite decade of music?
It's tough to narrow down. I think I resonated the most with the 80s, or I've gotten at least like the most acquainted with like the songs, and like really like dove in, even like the underground artists of the 80s and stuff. There's something about that era that was like it wasn't, people weren't as worried about being cool. Almost, it was almost just like, I feel like we kind of have that back in a sense, whereas not that this didn't apply to the 90s and 2000s, but there's something about like, we'll wear like tracksuits and like dance around and make whatever weird song we want. Like, I don't know. There's something like just super cool. But I think like some of my favorite artists and inspirations also come from that era, so I just naturally like relate to that era. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, your stuff, like, now that you say that, I can process that there's some 80s influence, but it's not exactly like on the nose, you know?
Yeah, which I don't want it to be. I think the whole 80s revival thing is like played out personally. Like, I'm not even as directly interested in it anymore, but I do think like I take probably the most influence in it, and then I'd like to apply, like, I've been interested in like late 90s music, or like even like early 90s, like New Jack Swing, that stuff, like Bobby Brown stuff I'm like super into right now. So I don't know, there's something to take from everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can take great music out of any era and be totally fine.
Yeah, no, exactly. You'll find something good. That's what I truly believe.
Great. Well, the China Blue, thank you for joining me for an episode of On That Note. That's going to wrap us up here. Everybody needs to go listen to your new song, Sleep, which came out September 15th. Everybody go check out Spotify or Apple Music if you use Apple Music. And yeah, man, thank you for coming on, talking about your creative process behind your new songs and, the advice you have for other artists. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk to you later, dude.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.